So earlier, Max Anderson made the suggestion, maybe he didn't make the suggestion, maybe I made the suggestion, that what if the arts organizations are better at communicating than the journalists are? What if the tools that they're using are better? Jim asks this question. Actually, we had a very serious conversation about this afterwards. What happens if the advertisers are better at conveying information? Don't we have to up our game in a significant way to be able to compete with that kind of sophistication of message? We certainly have the content. Our next project is San Francisco Classical Voice. If a concert happens and no one writes about it, did it actually happen? Of course it did. But artists have always depended on journalists to get the word out, to build context about their work, and build reputations. It's also how they get funded in some significant ways. But as arts journalism slips off the pages of the local press, who's picking that up? The Bay Area has a thriving classical music scene. There are over 340 classical music groups working there. And San Francisco Classical Voice is actually the brainchild of the prominent classical music critic Robert Commenday, who was for a long time critic in San Francisco, back in 1998. And he created Classical Voice because it was his feeling that arts journalism, even back then, wasn't getting its proper due. And so what would happen if you tried to invent a serious way of doing that on the internet? So here you're going to see a site that's actually 11 years old. It's been around for a while. And it offers comprehensive coverage of the classical music scene in San Francisco, arguably in a more comprehensive, I wouldn't say better, but more expansive way than the traditional press has ever done. They break stories. They have a really terrific news section. They do profiles. They get out in the community. It's become a major resource for anybody who cares about classical music in the Bay Area. So this is kind of an example of a community site which covers the arts in that community, perhaps even in a better way than we're used to. So here's San Francisco Classical Voice.